Deepal was the former managing director of Aviva NDB before venturing into full-time consultancy work. He counts over 30 years of experience in sales, advertising, marketing, human resources, and strategic planning. He pioneered promoting management concepts in simple Sinhala through his book series Singhaling Business and has authored 15 books published here and overseas. He takes a keen interest in bringing in the Asian wisdom to the modern-day management practices, and in that he plays a leading role in introducing practices such as mindfulness to business executives. He is a past president of Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing and had served on the councils of universities of Kelaniya and Moratuwa, National Administrative Reforms Council, Presidential Task Force for English, and National Teacher Education Authority. During the last 3 years, he served as the Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Inventors Commission as well.
Welcome to Inward Bound for Mindful Living. My name is Shaveen Bandaranayake. Today and throughout the series, we will have a very interesting guest with us. Now, you've heard the introduction before this program started. So who I have with me today is Mr. Deepal Suryarachi. Thank you ever so much, sir, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we've actually heard who you are, but since you're a marketeer and since you're an advertising professional itself, so I thought maybe I should direct to you your very own elevator pitch. So who exactly is Deepal Suryarachi?
I never expected you to ask such difficult questions at the beginning. I thought this is going to be a friendly interview.
but you have to answer, sir. You have to let us know, in your own words, who exactly Deepal Suryarachi is.
Yeah. Let me explain it in few steps. I started my career as a sales clerk in a shop in 1980, writing bills for roughly about $35 a month. And from there I moved on to, as you said, into advertising, marketing, and then later on I joined Eagle Insurance, and where I spent almost 20 years. I ended up as the managing director of that company. That's one side of my life. The other side of my life, I had been exploring life itself through various experiences and experiments. So in a way you can see me as a person who has either balanced or tried to straddle both sides of life.
So I think you've brought it to a very good point. It's basically a rags to riches story, if I may say so, from a clerk to a CEO. What would you say is your secret to achieving that objective, that goal?
I think one critical thing is my philosophy of life, which I think is very simple, because I believe my today is a result of my yesterday, and my tomorrow is a result of my today. So with this philosophy, whatever I had to do today, I would do to the best of my ability. And from the time I started writing bills, that has been my way of working. And it's not that I dreamt of becoming a CEO of sort, but I did the right thing most of the time because of this, driven by this philosophy. The second thing is I always accepted challenges. Wherever some challenges were even at the risk of losing my job, and I thought, okay, worst is I can lose the job and I'll find a job. And so those are the two main things. And as for the person who Deepal is and for my success, I was very fortunate to get involved in this practice of mindfulness at very early stages of my career. That was in 1980. I was just 20 years. And ever since I figured out there was a close nexus between being who you are, to be authentic, and to be really be with whoever that I am with, which I felt was the most important thing to be successful, where you can have authentic, deep, genuine relationships. Because at the end of the day, corporate success is a result of relationships.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, we'll be diving deeper into these concepts throughout this series, but for the unacquainted, and just to set a foundation, a stepping stone, so to speak, what exactly do you mean by mindfulness?
Thank you for asking that question. I think it's a normal being's ability to be aware. Right? Let's take this. Sometimes you become aware of some things you did little later in life, right? Or sometimes days later, sometimes hours later, sometimes even years later. Sometimes you become aware of what you are going to do just before you start doing it. Sometimes you become aware of what you are doing halfway through the process. For example, you meet someone and you start relating a story, and then halfway you realize, no, I shouldn't be telling this story to him. That's one level of awareness. And of course, I shouldn't have done that kind of realization comes to most of us most of the time. Now, mindfulness is developing this simple capability to a higher level, like a skill. Now, why I call it a skill is a skill is a normal capability that can be developed by constant practice. For example, if you can speak, chances are that you can sing. Right? Not that everybody can be a singer. To be a singer, you should constantly practice it with some guidance. You can run a few yards, but it doesn't make you a marathon runner. Yeah, to do that you need to practice. So now that the simple ability to become aware, right, of what you did or what you are about to do or what you are doing, if you develop it as a skill, you can become aware before you do it, ideally. Now, if you do it, if you become aware of it before you do, then you can make a choice. Simple sense. Let me give you an example. This happened very early in my life. That was this idealistic youth period. And I remember one day, that was the time where no smoking signs were there in buses, but people would still smoke. And I saw this guy with a cigarette in his mouth, and I pointed it to him, like this. I didn't say what it is, I just pointed out the no smoking sign. And he looked at me like this and pulled one more puff. I knew I was losing temper, but I didn't know at which moment I pulled out the cigarette out of his mouth and threw it away. Now that's a reaction, you see. I was not fully aware of what I was going to do. Now, if I could become aware, then I can take a choice of what to do. That's a simple example of applying this ability to become aware. And once you are aware, you can choose which response to take. This is at a very, very basic level of the benefit of mindfulness. Right? It is not the deep aspects of it, but just to get an idea what we are talking about.
Now, clearly, Mr. Suryachi, your concepts, your precepts of mindfulness have aided you and have helped you to be successful. And to me, it seems quite simple and quite obvious as well. Why on earth isn't anyone else trying this out? Why on earth isn't anyone actually integrating it to their own life, especially young people?
Most of the time, the things that are profound are very simple, right? And if you ask any successful people, they would have very simple answers, Like this famous story of Leo Tolstoy, he said every happy family has the same story. But every unhappy family has its unique story. So I think it's because people are not taught. Now, I was fortunate enough accidentally to meet some people who taught me, there's a simple practice. And then when you practice something and when you experience that it helps you, right, you continue to do it.
So maybe to round off, since we have loads more to come in the series ahead, what can the viewers expect to actually learn from you?
I will be sharing how I learned this practice, how I integrated it into my life using simple techniques, not very complicated ones, and then how you can apply it yourself. And of course, I will give some simple guidelines how to do it, and then we can discuss even more deeper implications and methods of integrating it with your life.
Brilliant. I think we've laid the foundation proper for the series ahead, and it was wonderful talking to you in our pilot episode, actually.